"You shouldn't have come," my mom said, cutting vegetables without even looking at me. My dad laughed. "It's not like anyone missed you last year either." I smiled, left my gift bag, and drove off quietly. 30 minutes later, I got a call from the florist. Cancellation confirmed. Then from the bank, joint account access removed. Then the family group chat exploded with, "Why would you do this?" I smiled and replied. After everything they said, I felt like a failure. Not because I didn't try. I overthought every detail for weeks. What to wear, what to bring, how to act. I told myself it didn't matter what happened last year. That maybe they'd softened. That maybe if I showed them I was still willing to be part of their lives, something would shift. I was wrong. I pulled up to their house an hour early, parked down the block like I was a guest rather than their daughter, and sat in the car rehearsing how I'd say hello. It was their 31st anniversary this time. Nothing extravagant like the party last year, but there'd still be people, a couple dozen guests, family, friends, church folks, some neighbors, and me. Invited technically, but not welcomed. Last year they celebrated without me. I wasn't left out. I was excluded completely. They didn't even try to explain it until weeks later when my mom told me they just wanted peace that night. When I pressed her, she finally admitted it had been deliberate. That conversation stuck with me for months. I didn't go home for Thanksgiving or Christmas. No one called. So this year, when the invite finally came, through a forwarded email, not even a direct message, I hesitated. But I still went. I showed up carrying a carefully prepared gift bag filled with things I knew they'd love. Custom gifts, thoughtful stuff, the kind of things that take time and effort. I spent around $1,000. Not to buy love, but to try to show them they still mattered, even if I wasn't sure I did to them. I walked into the kitchen where my mom was slicing vegetables. She didn't look up. "You shouldn't have come," she said, just like that. My dad, still in his apron, chuckled. "It's not like anyone missed you last year either." They didn't even pretend. Not in front of me. Not even when I handed over the gift bag and said, "Happy anniversary." No thank you. No eye contact. Just silence. So I turned around and walked out. I passed through the dining room, saw the guests trickling in, some already sitting with drinks, some asking where I was going, and others just staring. My uncle glanced toward the kitchen, then looked at me with this puzzled expression, like he knew something wasn't right but didn't want to get involved. My parents stayed where they were. They didn't chase me, didn't explain to anyone why I left 5 minutes after arriving. I hope someone asked. I hope they squirmed trying to answer. I got back in the car and sat there with my hands on the steering wheel for a long time, not driving, just thinking. Not about the embarrassment, that was theirs now, but about how much time and energy I had wasted on people who clearly didn't care. Then I opened my phone. I didn't even hesitate. First, I canceled the bouquet scheduled to arrive tomorrow morning. White lilies and blue orchids in a crystal vase. Cost me over $200. Gone. Next, I logged into the bank app. The joint account they'd been accessing for almost 2 years, removed. It was never supposed to be a lifeline, but it turned into one. $3,000 a month, quietly covering their bills, their groceries, their streaming subscriptions. Rent for my sister in another city. They never once said thank you. A few minutes later, the confirmations rolled in. Florist cancellation confirmed. Bank joint account access removed. Then the group chat lit up like a fire alarm. Why would you do this? Are you serious right now? You just embarrassed your parents in front of everyone. And finally, the one that made me laugh out loud in the car. What kind of daughter does this on their anniversary? I typed one sentence. You said you were better off without me. Now you get to prove it. Then I turned off my phone, pulled out of their neighborhood, and didn't look back. It was the first time in years I didn't feel guilty for putting myself first. I thought after what I said, they'd go quiet, maybe soak for a week or two, and lick their wounds like they always did when things didn't go their way. I didn't expect what came next, not how fast, not how desperate. By the time I parked at home and stepped inside, my phone was going off nonstop. 6 missed calls, 2 voicemails, all from my parents. I didn't answer any of them. I sat down on the couch, finally exhaled, and let the quiet settle in. For once, no one was around to twist my words, guilt-trip me, or tell me I was imagining things. I felt something strange. I think it was relief. But it didn't last long. At 8:13 p.m., my sister Katie texted, "Hey, what happened?" I stared at the screen for a second. Then came another. I just got a notice my rent payment failed. I thought Dad handled that. There it was, the unraveling. Katie didn't know the money had been coming from me. I never told her. A year and a half ago, when she called me crying after Mom told her she needed to figure it out on her own, I stepped in. I called the landlord, paid 3 months in advance, and quietly linked her apartment to the joint account I let our parents use. They made her believe it was them helping. Now, the lie had collapsed in one night. I didn't answer her right away. I wasn't sure how. I didn't want her caught in the middle, but she was already there, whether I liked it or not. A little after 10, my dad left a voicemail. I almost didn't listen, but I did, and I'll never forget the shift in his voice. "All right, you've made your point," he said. "But this isn't just about us. You've hurt your sister. You've made a scene in front of everyone. You've embarrassed the whole family. You think cutting us off is some kind of victory?" Then he paused. "You want to play this game? Don't forget who gave you everything." That line stuck with me. Gave me everything. Like I hadn't been covering their bills for nearly 2 years. Like I hadn't picked up the slack every time they were late on something and pretended it was just a temporary thing. I didn't reply. The next morning I woke up to a knock. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I checked the peephole first. It was Katie. She looked exhausted, pale, her hair tied back in a rush. She didn't even wait for an invitation, just walked past me into the apartment like she'd been holding her breath the whole way there. "I had to drive 3 hours because no one would tell me anything," she said. "I didn't even sit." "You didn't need to do that. You canceled the rent payment?" "Yes, I'm not canceling your support, just their access." She blinked. "Wait, what?" I told her the truth, all of it, that I'd been the one paying, that I hadn't wanted her to feel indebted, that they let her believe it was them because it made them look good. She sat down quiet. "So, all those thank you messages I sent to Mom?" I nodded. "I saw them in the family group chat." She looked sick. I sat across from her. "Listen, I'll keep helping you directly, not through them, but I'm done playing the good daughter for people who hate me unless I'm useful." She was quiet for a while. Then she said, "They're going to come after you hard." "I know." And they did. The rest of the day was a slow-building storm. My mom sent me a long message about how she had given up everything for us. My dad wrote something about betrayal and bloodlines. My cousin May texted me too. "Please reconsider before you burn this bridge completely." Then came the real twist. That evening, my mom called Katie. She didn't even know I was in the room when Katie answered. "We're sorry," Mom said. "Tell Natalie to come by tomorrow. We just want to talk." Katie looked at me. I could hear it in her voice. She wanted to believe them, but I just nodded. I already knew it wasn't going to be what they claimed. She told them I'd come, and I did. I knew it wasn't going to be an apology. Not a real one. They don't apologize. They adjust their tone when it benefits them. They reframe the story to look like peacemakers. But sorry? That word doesn't live in that house. Still, I went. Katie called me in the morning, said they wanted to talk, that they felt bad. She sounded hopeful, or maybe just tired. Tired of being in the middle. "They want to make things right," she said. "Sure," I told her. "Let's see what that means to them." I pulled into the driveway just after noon. It was quiet. Too quiet. No guests. No chatter. The cars were gone, but the tension wasn't. Katie opened the door before I knocked. She looked nervous. "They're waiting in the living room," she said. I stepped inside. Same house, same smell, same heaviness. They were both sitting on the couch, stiff like actors waiting for the curtain to rise. My dad gave me that fake, restrained smile he used when he wanted to seem reasonable in front of outsiders. My mom stared at the coffee table like she was rehearsing lines in her head. I sat down across from them. I didn't say a word. My mom spoke first. "We've had some time to think," she said. "And maybe we didn't handle things as kindly as we should have, especially on a day like yesterday." My dad picked up right where she left off, like they practiced it. "You've always been emotional, Natalie. We get that. But there's a way to resolve things without burning everything down." I waited. "Walking out like that," he continued. "It humiliated us in front of everyone. You think that didn't hurt?" There it was, the core of it. Not the way they treated me, not what they said, just how it looked to others, how it made them feel when the whispers started, when people asked where I went, why I left. That was the real wound. They looked bad. I said nothing, just listened. My mom shifted in her seat. "We know things haven't been perfect, but you canceling that account, that didn't just affect us. You know your sister needs that rent money." That's when Katie came in. Her eyes were red, face blotchy. She sat beside Mom, looked directly at me, and said, "I just don't want this to destroy everything. It already feels like everything's falling apart." I turned to her. "You shouldn't be here right now." She blinked. "What?" "This conversation isn't about you. I already told you, I'll cover your rent. I'm not going to let you suffer for their mistakes. But don't let them use you like a chess piece. That's what this is." She looked down, silent. My dad leaned forward. "You think you're above this family now? You wouldn't be where you are if it weren't for us. You think your success just came out of thin air?" "No," I said. "I got where I am by doing the opposite of everything you taught me." He stood up suddenly. "Don't push it. You think cutting off money gives you power? We can talk too. People listen to us. Don't think we won't make calls. Don't think your job's so safe you can't be touched." I stood too. I've worked too hard to get where I am to be afraid of two unemployed manipulators with nothing to lose. My mom looked shocked for a second, just 1 second, and then furious. "You think you're better than us?" she said. "After everything we did." "You didn't raise a daughter. You raised a bank account," I said. "And now the account is closed." Katie stood quietly, moved away from them, closer to me. That was the first sign that maybe she saw it too, what they really were. I turned toward the door. My dad called after me, "You'll regret this, Natalie." But I didn't even pause. I left that house again. This time not angry, not confused, just done. Later that night, Katie texted me again, just one line. "You were right. I didn't see it before." I told her I'd start sending rent directly to her landlord and not to worry about dealing with them. I wouldn't let her fall with them, but I wasn't coming back. That same night, my uncle called, left a voicemail, said they were devastated, said I was being cruel, said I needed to man up and fix it. I blocked his number. My parents were just getting started. When guilt stopped working, they'd move on to their next strategy. Manipulation was only phase 1. I knew what was coming next. I expected a few days of silence after that, but less than 24 hours later, I got a letter. Not a text, not a call, a letter. A printed envelope delivered to my apartment. No return address. Just my name in neat cursive. I opened it slowly, already knowing it wasn't going to be pleasant. Inside was a 2-page letter, typed. My dad's tone was cold, rehearsed. He said they were considering legal options to recover family contributions made over the past 2 years. He listed things I had paid for as if they were debts I now owed back to them. My sister's rent, a roof repair, groceries, even my dad's dental work. He ended it with, "You made a choice, so did we." I sat there staring at it, not even angry, just stunned by how far they were willing to go. They were trying to flip the whole thing and paint themselves as victims of my financial abuse. It would have been laughable if it wasn't so deliberate. I scanned the letter and sent it to a lawyer friend. He read it and called me 5 minutes later. "This is absurd," he said, "but it's also calculated. They want to rattle you, make you panic." "They're trying to bait me," I said. "Exactly. Ignore it. If they actually file something, I'll handle it. But don't respond. They're hoping you will." That same night, I got a text from Katie. "They just told me you're stealing from the family. They're telling everyone you emptied their retirement fund." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so cartoonishly evil. I hadn't touched a cent of theirs. They never had a retirement fund. The only money flowing in came from me. But it didn't matter. They were rewriting the story already. And then something happened I didn't expect. Katie showed up again. But this time, she wasn't alone. She brought my cousin Evan. I hadn't seen him in over a year. We weren't particularly close growing up, but he'd always been one of the few family members who didn't play along with the drama. He stood in my doorway holding a brown folder and looking serious. "I think you need to see this, Jen," he said. Inside were screenshots, notes, and emails. He'd been at the anniversary party, and apparently after I left, he overheard a lot more than I realized. My mom had gone room to room, telling different guests a slightly different version of what happened. To one, she said I refused to help anymore and threw a tantrum. To another, she implied I'd been using the joint account to control them, suggesting I had threatened to withhold funds before. Evan had quietly been piecing it all together. He had recordings, texts, enough to prove I wasn't the one lying. "I didn't know what to do with all this," he said. "But I figured you might." I took the folder. I didn't even have a plan yet, but just knowing I had it, evidence, was enough for now. That weekend, my dad tried calling again. I declined. An hour later, Katie sent me a screenshot of a Facebook post my mom had made public. Not just some vague, passive-aggressive thing. She straight up wrote a full-blown monologue about how their only daughter had turned against the family and how they were now struggling to survive without the money she ripped away. It got likes, sympathy comments, prayers. They were performing, publicly. So I posted one sentence under it. Should I start posting receipts, or would you prefer I deliver them in person? 5 minutes later, she deleted the post. The group chat went silent. Evan texted me. Well, that shut them up. But I knew better. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. They had lost the financial support, but not the hunger for control. And I had just made it clear I wasn't going back. After the Facebook stunt collapsed, things got quiet again. But it wasn't the kind of quiet you trust. It was the pause between a spark and the explosion. By now, almost every family member had picked a side. A few reached out to me privately to say they understood, but they always followed it with something like, and maybe it's time to just let it go. Or, family is family. You know what they meant? Go back, be quiet, let them win. Then came the voicemail. I woke up to it on a Tuesday morning. A blocked number. I wasn't going to check it, but something told me to. It was my mom crying. Real or fake, I couldn't tell. She was talking slow, like she wanted each word to land. You win, okay? She said. We were wrong. I see that now. I don't want this to go on forever. We just want our family back. Please come by tonight. Just talk to us. No yelling, no blame. We just want to make it right. I played it twice. It was the first time she'd ever said, we were wrong. Ever. I told myself I wouldn't fall for it, but part of me needed to hear it. So I called Katie. She didn't sound convinced either. If you go, I'll go with you. So we went together. Same house, same living room. But this time, no guests, no fake smiles, just them sitting across from us again. My mom stood up when we walked in. My dad stayed seated, arms crossed, jaw tight. We want to move on, my mom said. We're tired of all the hate. I looked at them. You sure that's not just because the money's gone? She flinched. That's not fair, she said. Then came the twist. My dad leaned forward and said, what if we made you co-owner of the house? Legally. It's what's fair. You've helped so much. I froze. It sounded almost generous. Too generous. Then I realized it wasn't an offer. It was bait. They weren't giving me anything. They were trying to tie me to the house. To them. Legally, financially, permanently. They'd found a new leash, dressed up as a reward. Katie looked at me, then back at them. That's not what she needs. We're just trying to show goodwill, my mom said. She says we never appreciated her. This is us showing we do. And if I say no? I asked. My dad shrugged. You'll say no because you want to play the victim. You always have. There it was. The truth again. The crack in the mask. I'm not taking anything from you, I said. Not the house, not your apologies, not your guilt. Oh, you'll come crawling back, Vish, my dad said. I know, I said. You just lost your last chance. I stood up, Katie followed. I'll keep helping you, I said to her. But not through them, never again. She nodded, eyes wide but calm. I think that was the moment she finally, truly picked a side. We walked out together. Outside, she grabbed my arm. You're done, aren't you? Yeah, I said. For good this time. She moved out of their influence. A week later, she officially changed her mailing address. I started wiring her $900 monthly directly to her landlord. She sent me a message that nearly broke me. You're the only one I can trust. You're the best sister I could have ever asked for. My parents tried a few more times. Emails, messages through relatives, even one half-hearted attempt to report fraud on the closed joint account. It didn't work. They stopped when they realized they didn't have anything left to take. No money, no power, no daughter. It has been 4 months since I walked out of their house for the last time. Since then, not a word from either of them. No calls, no emails, no letters disguised as guilt bombs. The group chat hasn't made a sound. I almost forgot it existed. At first, the silence felt strange, like the eerie calm after a storm when you're waiting for something else to snap. I kept checking my inbox, expecting one last dramatic twist, a lawyer's letter, a wild accusation, a new manipulation tactic. But nothing came. And slowly, the silence stopped feeling like a warning. It started feeling like freedom. I'm sleeping better, not waking up with that weight on my chest, wondering which crisis I'll be asked to fund or which favor will be framed as an obligation. I come home to peace now, not stress, not chaos, not the constant hum of resentment building in the background. The old joint account sits inactive, untouched. I check it sometimes out of habit, half expecting to see a new attempt to access it, but it stays frozen, like a vault to a life I don't live anymore. Katie's doing better too, way better. She finally admitted she'd been holding her breath for the last 2 years, always worried about the strings attached to everything they gave her. Now that the money comes directly from me, no questions asked, she's calmer, lighter, different. She moved into a new place 2 weeks ago. I helped her carry boxes up 3 flights of stairs and watched her open her new front door like it actually belonged to her. No ghosts behind it. No parents threatening to use her as leverage. She sent me a voice message that night. No script, no pretense. "You're the only one who's never used me," she said. "You could have let me believe their lies forever. You didn't. You told the truth, and you never stopped helping. You're my family now. You always were." It hit harder than I expected. I told her she was free now, too. She believed me this time. But just when I thought things had settled, something unexpected happened. A mutual acquaintance, someone I hadn't spoken to since high school, DM'd me on Instagram. Said they'd run into my parents at a small event a few towns over. Nothing fancy, just a local thing. But apparently they were telling people they hadn't heard from me in months, and that they were deeply worried that I had cut off all contact without warning, and that they feared I was involved with something unstable. They were spreading rumors again. Quiet ones, subtle ones. I didn't respond. I didn't care what the neighbors believed. But I screenshotted the message anyway, and saved it, just in case. Because people like them don't stop trying to control the story, even when they've lost the audience. Meanwhile, I've started planning something new. A move out of state, something fresh. Far enough away that even accidental run-ins become impossible. I haven't told anyone yet, not even Katie. But I will. Because the final step of letting go isn't just closing the door behind you. It's walking far enough away that you don't hear the knocking anymore. And this time I won't be looking back. But just as I started researching new apartments, checking neighborhoods and job opportunities, I got another message. This time from someone I barely remembered. An old neighbor who still lived a few blocks from my parents. She said she saw them at a local diner last week, laughing with a group of friends, casually talking about how hard it's been since Natalie cut ties. They just want peace, she said. They're heartbroken. She even asked me, "Is there anything I can do to help bring your family back together?" That was the moment I realized just how carefully my parents were planting their seeds. They were building a version of the story where they were victims, abandoned, betrayed, heartbroken. And I was the cold, calculating daughter who turned her back on them out of spite. I didn't bother responding to the neighbor. There was no point. People will believe what they want to believe, especially if it's easier than confronting the truth. But I screenshotted that message too. Added it to the folder Evan had given me, not because I plan to use it, but because I need to remember when the guilt creeps in, when the loneliness whispers that maybe I was too harsh. I need to remember that they didn't just hurt me once. They built a system around my silence. And I broke it. Katie is the only one who saw the full picture. She watched them try to erase the truth and replace it with their version of events. She watched them lie, spin, manipulate, and then cry about the consequences. We talk more now, real conversations, not filtered through what we think Mom would want to hear or how Dad might twist it later. She's free, and so am I. She told me something the other day while we were on the phone. "I used to think you were the difficult one," she said. "Because that's what they always told me. But now I think you were just the only one willing to tell the truth out loud." I didn't say anything at first, because for so long I had believed the same thing. But now I believe her. A week after that phone call with Katie, I started sorting through some old boxes in my closet. Things I hadn't looked at in years. Photos, letters, trinkets from school, a few gifts I'd forgotten they ever gave me. It felt like excavating someone else's life. Someone who still believed that love could be earned through obedience and sacrifice. I found a birthday card from my dad tucked in one of the envelopes. It said, "You're stubborn, but you'll thank us one day." No, I love you. No warmth. Just a reminder that control was always dressed up as care. I threw it away. That night, I lit a candle and sat on the floor of my living room, surrounded by the past. I cried, not because I missed them, but because I was finally grieving what I never really had. Parents who loved me for who I was, not for what I gave. A family that showed up even when it wasn't convenient. A home that felt like safety, not surveillance. I didn't grow up unloved. I grew up conditionally loved. And that's so much harder to see because it doesn't look like abuse. It looks like obligation, like guilt wrapped in tradition, like we did our best, used as a shield to deflect all accountability. The next morning, I emailed my lawyer friend again, asked him to look into something for me, just in case. What if they try to name me in something legal later? I asked. Can they? He called me right away. They can try, Natalie, but you've got everything documented, and more importantly, you've cut ties the right way, cleanly. Don't let paranoia ruin your peace. But yes, I'll keep an eye out. It made me realize something. I'm not afraid of them anymore. I'm just prepared. There's a difference. Being afraid meant I stayed quiet, stayed small, tried to shrink myself to fit their version of me. Being prepared means I know exactly what they're capable of, and I'm still standing anyway. I told Katie about the lawyer check-in. She said, I'm glad. They don't get to sneak back in just because time passed. Exactly. Time doesn't heal what's never been acknowledged. And then a few days ago, I did something small, but huge for me. I changed my emergency contact. It used to be my mom, by default, out of habit. Now it's Katie. She cried when I told her. You trust me that much? Yeah, of course I do. You're my family now. Not because we share blood, but because she chose to see me when everyone else chose the story. We still have hard conversations. We still process it all slowly. But we're rebuilding something real, something not built on debt and silence. Sometimes I wonder what my parents are saying now, how they spin the tale when there's no more drama to respond to, no more audience to play to. Maybe they tell people I cut them off for no reason. Maybe they pretend it was mutual. Maybe they've rewritten it again, so they don't have to face what really happened. I don't care. That's the power of healing. Eventually, their narrative stops mattering, because it's no longer about defending yourself. It's about living a life that doesn't require defense. A few days ago, I stood in my new apartment, the one across state lines, the one I never told them about. It's smaller, but it's mine. The windows face the sunrise, and there's a little coffee shop on the corner that already knows my name. I walk more now. I cook more. I rest more. The silence is no longer something I brace against. It's something I welcome. I sent Katie a photo of the view from my bedroom window. She replied instantly, "And you look happy." I told her I was. And for the first time in a long time, it was true. The last box I unpacked held a stack of old journals, ones I'd written in when I was still trying to win their approval. So many entries started with, maybe if I just... What if I'm the problem? I should have kept my mouth shut. I almost didn't read them, but I forced myself to. Not to relive it, but to remind myself of how far I've come. That girl in those pages, she thought survival was love, that endurance was loyalty, that being treated with bare minimum decency was something you had to earn. I don't think she was weak. I think she was brave, in the only way she knew how. But she doesn't live here anymore. I wrote one last entry in the back of that journal before throwing it away. It said, "You were never too much. You were never ungrateful. You were never the problem. You were just the first to stop pretending." And now I'm the first to be free.